Imagine living in a land where gold seems endless, towers rise from the sand, and money flows like a dream, but a single glass of clean water is more precious than oil. Picture a country famous for luxury, power, and influence, yet hiding a silent fear beneath its shining surface. This is Saudi Arabia, a place the world associates with black gold, not blue rivers. And yet, right now, something almost unbelievable is happening under its burning deserts, something that sounds more like science fiction than real life. A river is being built where no river has ever flowed. Not a small canal, not a temporary solution, but a man-made river system so massive, so ambitious, that it stretches longer than the Nile itself. Water is being forced to travel uphill, across mountains, through thousands of kilometers of underground pipelines. It challenges nature, logic, and history all at once. And the real question is not just how this is happening, but why Saudi Arabia had no choice but to do it. Because behind this bold project lies a story of desperation, mistakes, fear of collapse, and a fight for survival that most people outside the kingdom never see. For centuries, Saudi Arabia lived under one harsh truth. This land was never meant to hold water. No natural rivers, no lakes, almost no rain. Nearly the entire country is desert, scorched by relentless heat and dry winds. In many regions, months pass without a single drop falling from the sky. Even the capital city, Riyadh, receives less rain in an entire year than many cities get in a single week. And yet, life kept growing. Population numbers exploded. In 1950, fewer than 4 million people lived here. Today, more than 30 million call this land home. Cities expanded, air conditioners ran day and night, farms spread across the desert, and water demand grew into a monster nobody could control. But here's the twist. Saudi Arabia was using water that could never return. Deep underground, hidden beneath the sand, were ancient water reserves called fossil water. Water trapped there for millions of years. Once taken out, it would not refill in any human lifetime. Still, for decades, the kingdom pumped it endlessly. It felt like an unlimited gift, but it wasn't. It was a ticking clock. In the 1970s, Saudi Arabia made a decision that would later haunt it. The government wanted food independence. They didn't want to rely on other countries for wheat. So they encouraged massive farming projects in the desert. Farmers were given subsidies, free water, and modern equipment. From the air, the desert began to turn green with circular farms stretching for miles. It looked like a miracle. Saudi Arabia even became one of the world's top wheat producers. But behind that green image, disaster was forming. Agriculture alone began consuming nearly 80% of the country's water. Every harvest drained more fossil water. Every green field pushed the underground reserves closer to collapse. By the early 2000s, satellite data revealed something terrifying. The water beneath Saudi Arabia was disappearing at an alarming rate, billions of liters every single year. Experts compared it to using a battery that could never be recharged. The kingdom was forced to shut down wheat farming almost completely. Food independence was sacrificed to save what little water remained. And suddenly, the future looked fragile, because without water, oil, money, and power mean nothing. That's when Saudi Arabia made a choice that shocked engineers around the world. If nature refused to give rivers, they would build their own, but not on the surface where the sun would steal every drop. The river would run underground, hidden from the heat, protected from evaporation, stretching across the country like veins beneath the skin. This was not just a construction project, it was a gamble against time. Thousands of kilometers of pipelines began to take shape, buried deep under the desert. Some sections would cross flat sands, others would climb mountains more than 10,000 feet high. Water would no longer flow downhill like it always has in history. It would be pushed upward by powerful pumping stations running day and night. This artificial river would connect
Since Saudi Arabia has no rivers, the water has to come from the sea. The Red Sea, the Arabian Gulf. Endless water, but useless in its natural form. Too salty to drink, too harsh for crops. So the kingdom invested billions into desalination plants, the largest network the world has ever seen. Along its coastlines, massive facilities work non-stop, turning seawater into fresh drinking water. Some use heat, boiling water until salt is left behind. Others use advanced membranes, thinner than a human hair, forcing water through while trapping salt, bacteria, and even viruses. The scale is almost impossible to imagine. Every single day, these plants produce billions of liters of clean water, enough to supply entire nations. But producing water is only half the battle. Moving it across a desert the size of Western Europe is the real challenge. Here's where things get intense. The artificial river system stretches over 12,000 kilometers. That's longer than the Nile, longer than most natural rivers on Earth. Pipes wider than city buses carry water underground, protected by special coatings to survive heat, pressure, and corrosion. Pumping stations the size of power plants force water uphill against gravity, burning massive amounts of electricity. In fact, pumping water alone consumes nearly 10% of Saudi Arabia's total power supply. Think about that. Just moving water takes more energy than some entire countries use. And yet, there is no alternative. Without this system, cities would dry up, industries would shut down, life would slowly choke under the desert sun. But even this miracle comes with consequences. Every liter of fresh water produced leaves behind salt, mountains of it, tons upon tons every day. If dumped carelessly, it can destroy marine life, poison coral reefs, and kill entire ecosystems. Saudi Arabia has already seen dead zones forming in parts of the Red Sea. This hidden damage doesn't make headlines, but it's real. To fight this, engineers are experimenting with deep-sea dispersal systems and even mining salt to extract valuable minerals. The goal is survival without destruction, progress without collapse. But the balance is fragile, and one wrong move could turn innovation into catastrophe. Still, the artificial river stands as a symbol of something bigger than water. It represents a country refusing to surrender to geography, a nation trying to rewrite its destiny with technology. Saudi Arabia wants to secure water for future generations, revive agriculture carefully, and reduce its dependence on oil. This river is not just about drinking water, it's about power, stability, and control over the future. Hosting global water forums, breaking world records, and proving that even the harshest environments can be reshaped with enough ambition. But here's the emotional truth that often gets ignored. This project exists because of fear. Fear of running dry, fear of social unrest, fear that without water, everything else collapses. The artificial river is a lifeline built under pressure, a reminder that even the richest nations are helpless when nature turns its back. Saudi Arabia's underground river is not a victory lap. It's a warning, a message to the world that water, not oil, will define the future. And as this man-made river silently flows beneath the desert, longer than the Nile, it carries more than water. It carries the weight of survival itself. Because in the end, no matter how powerful a nation looks from the outside, it all comes down to one simple truth.